The mood is tense around the fire. Rich keeps darting glances at Emily, who sits a few feet away from me, staring into the flames with an angry look on her face. I can't help but feel bad for her, but happy that she's mad at Rich. I've had the hots for Emily ever since first meeting her. If I'm lucky, she's done with Rich. Maybe I can swoop in and comfort her, make her feel better. I know it's a messed up thing to think, but I can't help it. She's so nice and her laugh lifts my heart whenever I hear it. And she's one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen in my 18 years on this earth. Vicky and Victor sit nearby, but unusually silent. Something's up with Vicky, but I have no idea what. She clearly doesn't want to talk about it. Not my girlfriend, not my problem. Eventually, Victor will pry it out of her. Emily stands up.
I'm going to bed.
She strides past the fire and up the trail toward the cabins, into the darkness and the trees. Emily, wait. Let's talk about this, Rich says, following her up the trail. Emily says something, but I can't make out what it is. Pretty soon, their voices are just muffled noises and serious tones, fading as they move farther away. Then, just seconds after I can no longer hear them, there's a scream. It's Emily. I jump to my feet and run up the trail, thinking Rich is hurting her. But as I'm running, Emily appears, sprinting toward me. She screams again, telling me to run. And that's when I see that she's covered in blood. It's splashed all over her face and shirt. Looking beyond her, I see Rich stumble down the trail, clutching his neck in both hands. Blood spurts from between his fingers. He makes a wet choking sound before falling straight onto his face. Emily clutches my arm and yanks me back toward the fire. Run! A figure steps out of the trees, face obscured by what looks like a mask made of duct tape. There are holes for the eyes and a narrow slit for the mouth. I can't tell whether it's a man or a woman, but the figure moves like a man. He's dressed in baggy blue coveralls. He's holding a pruning saw in one hand. Its thin but long blade is covered in Rich's blood. Rusty? I say, unbelieving. He moves toward me, slow, steady, and silent as a grave. Would you please shut up? I say from where I lay in the back seat, sunglasses over my eyes. In the front of the SUV, Victor and Vicky sing even louder, laughing at my grumpy outburst. They don't even have the actual song on in the car. They're not singing along. They're just singing some song about how it's good to be young and free or some other nonsense. And let me tell you, neither of them will be winning any singing competitions anytime soon. When they're done with the song, Vicky leans over from the front passenger seat and pulls Victor into a kiss. Ugh. I always think they should be brother and sister instead of boyfriend and girlfriend. So when they kiss, it gives me the creeps. Of course, they're not related, but they look and act so much alike that I sometimes think they were accidentally separated at birth, and neither of them knows it. Watch the road, I say, sitting up. Relax, Victor says as Vicky pulls away. Have a beer. There's plenty in the cooler in back. No way, I say. I'm never drinking again. At least not until this hangover wears off. We slow down on the near-deserted highway as we approach the turn toward camp. We pass the familiar sign that reads Camp Clear Lake, established 1960. Carson, do you know who's going to be here again this year? Vicky says, chomping on a piece of gum she's probably been chewing since Christmas. Before I can answer, she turns dramatically and looks at me with her baby blue eyes. Emily Wendover. Maybe you and her can finally hook up this year. Last chance. I roll my eyes, but there's a nugget of truth to Vicky's words. I've had the hots for Emily Wendover since my first year as a counselor at this camp. And since the camp only hires counselors who are between 15 and 18, this will be our last year here. Both Emily and I, plus Victor and Vicky, will be 19 next year. No more working at Camp Clear Lake. We'll be going into the 1990s as official adults. We drive down the sun-dappled dirt road, pine and oak trees towering over us. As we pull into the dirt parking lot by the main admin building, Emily Wendover and Rich Lenson come out of the wooden building. Emily smiles and races down as Vicky jumps out of the car. The two girls squeal and hug, talking 100 miles a minute. Victor looks at me in the rearview mirror and rolls his eyes. Despite my hangover, I chuckle. I get out of the car and walk over toward Emily, but something stops me in my tracks. As Emily and Vicky separate, Rich steps forward and puts his arm around Emily's waist. My whole body goes cold. Rich grins at me, his stupid square-jawed face the most punchable thing in the world. Not that I would ever win a fight against the guy. I stay fit, but Rich is one of those guys who looks like he picked up a dumbbell the moment he came out of the womb, all bulging muscles and pulsing veins. Victor comes up and slings an arm around my neck. "Ouch," he says into my ear. "But, and I hate to say this, you snooze, you lose, buddy."
"Hi, Carson. Hi, Victor,"
Emily says.
"What are you guys whispering about?"
"Oh, nothing," Victor says, grinning. Emily comes forward and greets me with a smile and a hug. She looks as good as ever. Tight cut-off jean shorts, a t-shirt that shows her trim midriff, tanned skin, perfect teeth, brilliant green eyes, and dark hair tucked behind her ears. I'm kicking myself, knowing I should have made my move last year. Stupid. And to make things even better, we're the 5 counselors who will be getting the camp ready for when the kids and the other counselors arrive in 3 days. It'll just be us along with the owners, Rusty Pollard and his wife Darlene. I'm going to have to watch Emily and Rich be all cute and smoochy together. Damn, kill me now. As I'm hauling my backpack to the cabin I'll be sharing with Victor and Rich and the other male counselors, I pass Rusty and Darlene's cabin. Suddenly getting the feeling that someone's watching me, I glance up, seeing one of the curtains on the second floor fall back into place. It's a little strange since Darlene and Rusty aren't shy types. They're both in their middle 30s, having inherited the place from Rusty's father about 5 years ago. And they're both pretty friendly and outgoing. I shrug it off and keep trudging down the walking path. When I finally get to Oak Grove Cabin, I push the door open and step inside. There are 3 sets of bunk beds on each side for a total of 12 beds. None of them are made and the place smells musty. The windows are still closed and the floor is dotted with last fall's leaves that were blown under the door. The door to the bathroom, which has 2 toilets and 2 showers, is closed. Selecting one of the top bunks near the bathroom, I set my bag of snacks down and drop my backpack to the floor. There's a squeak of hinges, and I turn to see the bathroom door opening a few inches. I left the front door open, but I didn't feel a breeze. Swallowing and telling myself not to be such a wimp, I step over to the door and push it slowly open until I can see inside. Leaning forward, I peer into the bathroom. The toilet stalls are to my left. Something feels off, like someone's in here. If I didn't know that Victor was back in the parking lot tossing a football with Rich, I'd think it was him trying to scare me. I crouch and look under the toilet stalls, but I see no feet. The showers are to my right, and I have to push the door open all the way so I can see them. Both the opaque white shower curtains are closed. Stepping forward, I reach my hand out and grab one shower curtain. As I pull it open on an empty shower, the other shower curtain is yanked open from the inside. Someone leaps out at me, screaming. I jump back, nearly falling on my ass as I backpedal all the way over to the toilets. Darlene Pollard stands there just outside the shower, a stack of folded sheets and thin blankets held in one arm. She points and laughs at me, her face going red as she cracks up. Her brown hair is pulled back in a ponytail, and she's wearing overalls with an olive green tank top. She's an attractive woman, built like a gymnast, and almost as tall as me. She's always been quite a tomboy, not that it's a bad thing, and it hasn't kept me from having a little crush on her since the first time we met, back when I was a 13-year-old kid. The first summer she and Rusty came back to run the place for Rusty's ill father. Then again, show me a teenage boy who doesn't have a crush on pretty much every woman he sees, and I'll show you one whose hormones aren't constantly raging out of control. "I'm sorry," she says, catching her breath. "I'm sorry. I saw you walking up and I just couldn't help myself. The look on your face." My face is hot, and I can't help smiling. "You got me," I say, shaking my head. "You're gonna start this summer off with a dead counselor if you're not careful.
I almost had a heart attack. Oh, you're fine, she says,
chuckling.
I was just about to make the beds. Give me a hand? Sure thing,
I say, following her out of the bathroom. As we start making the bed, I remember the person in her cabin.
Is Rusty back at your cabin? I thought I saw someone in there when I walked by. Oh, that must have been Riley,
Darlene says.
She's Rusty's niece. She'll be staying with us for the summer, hopefully helping out around here a little bit. Hopefully?
I say, noticing her emphasis on the word. Darlene looks at me, seeming to consider her next words carefully.
Let's just say that the girl has some problems. She's not exactly the most sociable girl ever. How old is she? She's 17. Her father, Rusty's older brother, has been struggling with her for the past couple of years and he needs a break. He's a single dad after his poor wife died 3 years ago. I feel for the guy, but I'm not at all that thrilled about having Riley around. She can be a handful.
I nod, helping straighten the top sheet on the bed we're making. And, because I'm such a goody two-shoes, I say,
Well, let me know if I can help. Thanks, Carson,
Darlene says.
I will.
The sun is going down outside as we're all finishing our dinner in the cafeteria. We're all sitting at one long picnic table inside the large room. Even Riley is there, but she's taken pains to sit far down from us, and she hasn't said a word to anyone. She's pretty big for a 17-year-old, with thick arms and legs. She tries to hide her body with her clothes, wearing a blue and black plaid shirt and black jeans. She's also wearing big combat boots. Her multicolored hair hangs over her face as she eats. The rest of us, including Rusty and Darlene, sit together and talk. Even though they're much older than us, they don't seem all that different. We all get along pretty well, making each other laugh and talking about what has happened in our lives in the past year. Well, everyone but me anyway. I try to put up a good front, but I'm a little distracted. Emily and Rich sit together across from me, and I keep stealing glances at her, my heart aching. I'm in hell, and it's going to be a very long summer if I can't get over the self-pity I'm feeling. Or maybe I can steal her away from Rich. That's a laughable thought. I couldn't even get up the nerve to make a move when she didn't have a muscle-bound Ken doll attached to her at the hip.
Well, you guys know the drill,
Rusty says during a lull in the joking.
We've got 2 more days to get this place in operating condition. It's gonna be hard, but it'll be worth it,
the rest of us say in unison, knowing the words from every year. Rusty lets loose a rumbling laugh. He's a stout guy with a thick head of curly dark hair and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. He's wearing coveralls, but he's pulled the sleeves off and tied them around his waist, revealing a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off. He has muscular arms and hugely hairy armpits. He's got the kind of rugged good looks that are often featured on paper towel rolls or in hunting magazines.
Okay, you guys already know,
Rusty says.
I have confidence this place will look great as the parents arrive to drop off their precious little snots.
We all laugh again. He doesn't mean it. We know Rusty loves the kids. He's just trying to make us laugh, and he does a good job of it. After dinner, Victor and I are on dishwashing duty, while Rich and Emily are tasked with getting the fire pit ready. Darlene wanders off to work on something, while Rusty and Vicky go to check the plumbing in the cabins to make sure everything is working correctly, and there are no clogs or burst pipes or anything. Riley sits at the table alone, just staring at her hands. We can see her from where we wash dishes in the 2 large metal sinks.
What's up with her?
Victor asks, a little too loud.
You fuck her yet? Come on, man,
I say.
Don't. Just leave her be.
Victor makes a surprised face.
So you did fuck her? Man, you work fast, my friend.
Riley looks up at us, her face filled with rage. She gets to her feet in a huff and stomps out of the cafeteria into the twilight.
You're an asshole,
I say. Victor just laughs. By the time we finish up, there's no hint of the sun outside. We discuss going to get our flashlights, but decide against it. We can make our way in the dark. So we head over toward the lake where the fire pits are arrayed. We have to go down a path through a thicket of trees. There's a sliver of moon hanging overhead like a scythe, ready to fall down and cut into the earth. Crickets chirp all around us, and the occasional frog croaks from Clear Lake. As we approach the fire pits, we see flickering flames through the trees. Emily and Rich already have the fire going. Getting closer, I see that it's just Emily and Rich there. No one else has arrived yet.
Where's everyone else?
Victor asks.
I'm dying for a s'more.
Rich shrugs his big shoulders. He seems upset. Emily sits on a log by the fire, staring into the flames and hugging herself. A sudden hopeful joy rushes through me. They've had an argument. All is not well. This is good for me. Then I realize how much of an asshole thinking that way makes me. I mean, if he makes her happy, I should be glad they're together, right? Yes, I should be, but I'm not. And despite my best efforts, I can't get rid of that hopeful joy as I move and sit down a few feet away from her on an adjacent log. Rich goes back to poking the fire with the stick. His eyes dart over at Emily every so often.
Jeez,
Victor says, noticing the mood.
Who died?
A sudden blood-curdling scream slices through the night air like a sharp knife through supple flesh. All four of us look over toward the cabins, even though we can't see them due to the distance and trees in the way.
Who's that?
Victor asks.
I don't know,
I say, standing up.
We should go check.
It was a woman's scream, that's for sure. So it could be Vicky, Riley, or Darlene. Victor and I start off through the woods, heading back up the trail we just traversed. As we're coming to the place where the trail leaves the woods, we see a figure hurrying through the darkness toward us.
Vicky?
Victor says. Vicky makes a small, frightened sound.
Jesus, why are you guys out here without flashlights? You scared the hell out of me. Why are you out here without a flashlight?
Victor asks.
And who's screaming?
Ignoring the first question, Vicky says,
Oh, that was just me. I was scared by some animal in the woods. I guess I'm just jumpy. First day of camp and all. That was you?
Victor asks.
I've never heard you scream like that before. It sounded more like, I don't know what to tell you.
Vicky says, pushing past us.
It was me, okay? Can we drop it?
Victor and I look at each other through the gloom.
Damn,
he says.
Are all the women here suddenly on their period or what?
Shrugging, I turn and head back down to the fire. Victor glances over his shoulder toward the cabins and then follows me down. The mood isn't much better when we get back. In fact, it seems worse. Vicky isn't her usual bubbly self. Like Emily, she just stares into the fire, even when Victor sits down and snuggles up next to her. After several minutes of this, Emily stands up and announces that she's going to bed. She's moving up the trail before Rich drops his stick and rushes after her.
Emily, wait. Let's talk about this,
he says as they move out of the illumination cast by the fire. Emily says something, but I can't make out what it is. Pretty soon, their voices are just muffled noises and serious tones, fading as they move farther away. Then, just seconds after I can no longer hear them, there's a scream. It's Emily. I jump to my feet and run up the trail, thinking Rich is hurting her. But as I'm running, Emily appears, sprinting toward me. She screams again, telling me to run, and that's when I see that she's covered in blood. It's splashed all over her face and shirt. Looking beyond her, I see Rich stumble down the trail, clutching his neck in both hands. Blood spurts from between his fingers. He makes a wet choking sound before falling straight onto his face. Emily clutches my arm and yanks me back toward the fire. Run! A figure steps out of the trees, face obscured by what looks like a mask made of duct tape. There are holes for the eyes and a narrow slit for the mouth. I can't tell whether it's a man or a woman, but the figure moves like a man. He's dressed in baggy blue coveralls, just like the ones Rusty was wearing earlier. He's holding a pruning saw in one hand, its thin but long blade covered in Rich's blood.
Rusty?
I say, unbelieving.
Come on, Carson!
Emily says, yanking me back further as the man starts toward us. Finally realizing the danger I'm in, I turn and run back toward the fire. But after we've taken only a few lunging steps, I glance back over my shoulder and see nothing but an empty trail and dark trees standing like silent witnesses. Vicky and Victor stand next to the fire, holding each other, looking toward us.
What happened?
Vicky asks, sobbing.
What was that? We need to get out of here,
I say.
Someone just killed Rich. He cut his throat open.
Vicky cries out, her words a jumble that I can't understand.
What?
Victor says, clearly frightened, but not wanting to show it.
Come on, I'm not gonna fall for this. Nice try, though. I'm serious.
I say.
I don't know who it is. It's like he wrapped his face in duct tape. Baby.
Vicky says, pulling herself together enough to speak coherently.
Baby, I need to tell you something. It's...
An arrow comes flying out of the dark woods, hitting Vicky directly in the left eye with a sick thump. She stumbles away from a stunned Victor, her remaining eye going wide. She reaches toward the arrow sticking out of her face, her mouth moving soundlessly up and down. Then she falls directly into the fire. The figure approaches from the woods, stopping where we can just see him thanks to the light from the fire. He has another arrow knocked in a bow from the archery range, and as he pulls the bowstring back, I notice that he's wearing thin work gloves on his hands, the same kind I've seen Rusty wear. It looks like he's taking aim at Emily. I jump forward and pull her out of the way just as the killer releases the bow. The arrow thunks into a tree nearby.
Come on!
I shout at Victor, who's just standing there, looking down at his burning girlfriend.
Victor, run!
He snaps out of it and runs toward us. We go out into the woods, skirting the lake before circling back around to the main parking lot. Although I'm sure the killer is following us, I can no longer see him. But that's almost worse. As the three of us move into the parking lot, we're glancing around, expecting him to pop out at any moment.
We're in a fucking horror movie,
Victor says, sobbing.
We're all gonna die. The guys never survive. Never. It's only one girl that survives. Just one girl. Shut the fuck up.
I snap.
Tell me you have your keys on you.
Victor shakes his head.
They're in the cabin. Jesus Christ,
I say. Then I look at Emily, who's still clutching my hand.
You wouldn't happen to have Rich's keys, would you?
She shakes her head, her beautiful face twisted in terror.
Shit, I guess we're going to the cabins. Maybe we can find Darlene and Riley and get them out of here before it's too late. How do you know it's not Riley?
Victor says.
It could be anybody. I think it's Rusty.
I say. Victor shakes his head.
Why would Rusty kill any of us? Why would anyone?
Emily snaps.
Whoever they are, they're fucking crazy.
The sound of a snapping branch behind us makes me turn and look into the woods. I see nothing, and as I face forward again, Victor is running off toward the cabins.
Victor!
I say.
Come back!
But he just keeps running. Soon, he disappears into the darkness. Still holding hands, Emily and I run after him. Emily trips over something and falls into me, sending us both to the ground. As I get up, I peer around at the dark woods, cursing myself for not detouring to get a flashlight after dinner. I see no evidence of the murderer, but I can't see very far, so it's not all that comforting. I help Emily up and we resume our dash to the cabins. I'm afraid that Victor may just grab his keys and take off without us, so we go up the stairs to the cabin and rush inside. I try to turn on the lights, but the switch does nothing.
Oh, great,
I say. I can't see anything but the vague shapes of the bunk beds.
Victor?
There's no answer.
Stay here,
I say to Emily, leaving her by the door as I go groping through the dark toward my bunk. At any moment, I expect a hand to come out of the darkness and grab me, or stab me with a knife. But nothing happens between the front door and my bunk. I dig through my backpack until I find my flashlight. With a click, a beam of light pierces the dark recesses of the cabin. Whirling around, I shine the light in all directions, making sure the room is empty except for me and Emily. Then I point the light at Victor's bag on the next bunk over. The contents have been pulled out, as if frantically. I search for several long moments for the keys as Emily sobs in the corner. I think for a moment that he's already gotten his keys and gone on his way, but we would have seen him going back toward the parking lot. There's a faint sound from the bathroom, a light thump. I straighten, looking toward the bathroom door.
Don't go in there,
Emily says.
Please, Carson. Victor might be in there,
I whisper.
And we need the keys. Why would he be in there? Taking a quick bathroom break while we're running for our lives?
Ignoring Emily, I push the door open a foot, shining the light in toward the toilet stalls. When I see nothing, I crouch down and look for legs under the stalls. Nothing. Now for the shower stalls. My heart thuds and my throat thickens as I step into the bathroom, pushing the door open to reveal the shower stalls. Both of the curtains are drawn. I creep forward toward the right-hand stall. "Victor?" When there's no answer, I reach my hand out and grab hold of the curtain and yank it open to reveal an empty stall. Swallowing, I step to the other stall and yank the curtain open. Victor sits slumped in the stall, covered in blood. His legs are splayed and there are stab wounds all across his crotch. His eyes have been gouged out and they sit on the drain like discarded marbles from a macabre child's game. His mouth hangs open and inside I can see his car keys. They've been shoved nearly down his throat. I have to turn away and breathe deeply to keep from panicking or vomiting or both. For a moment, I contemplate not getting the keys, but we need them. They're our best chance of getting out of here. So I turn back to my dead friend and reach toward his gaping mouth with my left hand.
"Carson?"
Emily shouts from the main room. With my hand still in Victor's mouth, I turn toward the bathroom door and see two legs in the nearest stall. Panic strikes me, and I jam my hand down my friend's throat, grabbing the keys and yanking them out. As I turn to run out of the room, the murderer steps out of the stall, a massive hunting knife held in one hand. Suddenly, I'm transported back to the last football game of my career. It was against our rivals, the Cougars, and we were going to win if we could just stop them from getting close enough for a field goal. I was a middle linebacker, and I saw the running back coming right for a hole in the defense. I ran right at the guy, dodging a blocker, and slammed into him. He went down well short of field goal range, and we won the game. But that guy didn't have a knife, and he hadn't killed several of my friends. Still, I have nothing else to do. I run forward and smash right into the guy with my shoulder. I can't keep hold of the flashlight as we go down, but I manage to keep hold of the keys. They're more important anyway. The guy goes down hard between the toilet stalls and the wall. I scramble up and run out of the bathroom, grabbing a shocked Emily as I race out into the night.
"Carson!"
Emily says as soon as we're out of the cabin.
"What?
I say, still jogging, pulling her along.
Are you okay?"
There's something in her voice, and all of a sudden, there's a horribly sharp pain in my abdomen. I look down to see the hunting knife sticking out of my stomach.
"Oh!"
I say, staring down at the thing.
"Look!
Emily says,
There's a light on in that cabin. Maybe someone's in there. Maybe they have a first aid kit. Maybe we're not alone."
She pulls me toward the cabin, one that will be full of kids in a couple of days. Or would have been anyway. Camp will probably be canceled this summer. I open my mouth to object, to tell her we need to get out of here, but the words don't come. Instead, I just stare down at the knife, unable to comprehend what has happened to me.
"Help!
Emily shouts as we run up the cabin steps.
Help us! Darlene? Rusty?"
She still doesn't believe Rusty is the one killing us all, but I know better. It must be Rusty. We step through the door to find Rusty lying naked in one of the bottom bunk beds near the door. His arms hang limp over the sides of the bed, and his underwear and t-shirt lie nearby next to an open toolbox. The pair of coveralls he was wearing earlier is nowhere to be seen. His hairy body is covered in blood. He's been stabbed all over, but mainly in the crotch. The tool that did the damage, a screwdriver, is still sticking out of his mangled manhood, like a sick imitation. Emily screams, but I can't muster the energy. I'm starting to feel woozy. We turn to go back out the door, but Emily screams again as we see the masked murderer there. He's standing in the open doorway, gloved hands empty, eyes hard through the ragged holes left in the tape mask. Then, as the figure speaks, a sense of unreality settles on me. The voice that comes out, muffled slightly by the tape, it's not a man's voice. It belongs to a woman, a familiar woman.
"Have you come here to fuck him too, Emily?"
She says. It's Darlene. Emily and I back down the aisle between rows of bunk beds. Emily just shakes her head.
"I wouldn't be surprised if he was fucking all you little sluts."
Darlene says, stepping through the doorway. She pulls her gloves off and reaches up with one hand to unwind the tape as she continues talking.
I told him if I ever caught him with another woman, I would go crazy. So when I saw him with that little slut Vicky, well, that's just what I did."
She laughs insanely at this, ripping the last of the tape off her face. Her features have been distorted by the tape, making her look just as insane on the outside as she is on the inside.
"It was you?"
Emily asks as we back up.
"You're the one who screamed?" "That's right.
Darlene says, stepping over and pulling the screwdriver out of Rusty's crotch.
I came here and saw them fucking and I screamed. Vicky didn't say a word, just pulled on her clothes faster than anyone I've ever seen and ran down toward the lake. I bet she didn't even tell you all what had happened, did she? I bet she didn't tell her precious boyfriend either.
She steps toward us, now armed. We're running out of room.
Rusty was pleading with me, still naked, still covered in her juices. He was trying to tell me it wasn't what I thought it was. Can you believe that? I saw it with my own eyes, and he was trying to convince me I was wrong. So I reached into the toolbox and...
She holds up the bloody screwdriver.
Then I pulled on his clothes so I could smell him as I killed all the little sluts and all the men that are just like him.
Emily and I stop, our backs now against the bathroom door. But I still have enough energy left to know that I need to keep Darlene talking. If she's talking, she's not killing us.
So why the mask?
I ask, surreptitiously forcing the car keys into Emily's hand. Darlene smiles as she steps within arm's reach of us.
I wanted you all to think it was Rusty. Perfect Rusty doing the killing. I wanted your last thoughts to be of the betrayal of Rusty killing you. Because that's what it felt like when I saw him with her. That's how I feel now. He killed me. And he killed all of you.
She raises the screwdriver. I lurch forward and grab her arm, shouting for Emily to run. But I'm weak. I've been losing blood. Darlene jerks her hand away and stabs me once just above the collarbone. I scream in pain as she shoves me down. Emily is running. She has already crawled over one of the bunk beds and is running toward the cabin door. But she's not fast enough. Darlene runs after her, sinking the screwdriver into Emily's back just before she gets to the door. The woman yanks Emily back by her hair as the teenager screams. Emily hits the floor on her back, and Darlene straddles her. I try to pull myself up, but my vision goes black for a second, and I fall back to the ground. I watch helplessly as Darlene drives the screwdriver into Emily's beautiful face again and again. Getting to my hands and knees, I crawl toward her, thinking I'll pull the knife out and slit her throat. But she sees me coming. She stands up from Emily's body and walks over to me. I sit back on my legs, resigned to the inevitable.
Time to die, you man whore,
she says, raising the screwdriver. There's a wet thump, and Darlene jerks. Her eyes go wide, and she drops the screwdriver to the floor. Then she teeters forward. I manage to move out of the way to avoid getting crushed as she falls to the floor with a resounding thud. She has a hatchet sticking out of her back, and Riley stands in the aisle, breathing hard and looking down at Darlene. She's bloody, her face cut in a couple of places. There are gashes in her upper chest and her thigh. They're about the right size and shape for a hatchet blade.
Come on,
Riley says, reaching over to help me up. I groan in pain as she gets me to my feet. Then she pulls my arm over her shoulders and helps me toward the front door.
Keys,
I say, pointing at the keys still clutched in Emily's fist. Riley grabs them and we make the arduous journey to the parking lot.
How?
I ask when we're in Victor's SUV.
How what?
Riley says, starting up the engine.
How did you survive?
She shrugs, putting the SUV in reverse.
I was chopping wood for my own fire behind Rusty and Darlene's cabin when I heard the scream. I came to see what it was all about, bringing the hatchet with me just in case. And then I saw Darlene stabbing Rusty. I ran into the woods, but she caught up to me, hitting me in the head with something. Then she took the hatchet away and chopped me with it. I must have passed out, because I don't remember anything until just a few minutes ago. I woke up and heard Emily screaming. I guess Darlene thought I was dead because the hatchet was still sticking out of me.
As we drove down the road toward the highway, I slump in my seat. I know I won't last until we make it to a hospital. I'm fading fast.
Funny,
I say.
What? Victor was right. This is like the movies. This is nothing like the movies,
Riley says.
This is real fucking life. No,
I say, chuckling.
It's like the movies. You know why? Because only one girl ever makes it out alive. That's you. You're the final girl.
Riley rolls her eyes.
You're still alive,
she says.
Not for long.
My vision fades, and I feel myself slipping away. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.